Hey everyone, welcome back to the RPGames YouTube channel. My name is Ralph and this is episode 11 of my Pathfinder Kingmaker Let's Play. We are getting to the point where we are gonna take on the Stag Lord. That should happen in this episode, but first I want to talk a little bit to some of the characters. We have some new party members or new people that we can put in the party. I'm not sure if I want to actually. I kind of like the party that is going out right now. But let's see who we have here. So this is Tristian. Let's see. Don't worry about me. Chad said I'll be fine soon. Alright, there's not much talk going on there. What do you want? Have a little chat? Alright. It's not like we have anything better to do. Tell me about yourself. What is there to know? I was born, I'm alive, haven't died yet. That enough for you? Do you remember your childhood? What a crap question. I was just a kid when they sold me. Before that I don't remember much. Smoky fires, stinky hides. Always bumping along on a horse. I think I was born in one of the Kella tribes of Numeria. There are many, some survive on their own, some give up their pride and serve the Technic League. I guess mine was one of the cowards, if they sold their own kids. I remember my father's hands, rough, scarred, white. So I guess I get this green skin from my mother, but I don't remember her. Think I remember playing with another half-orc child. A brother maybe. For some reason they didn't sell him. Just me. Father gave him his dagger to play with. Never gave it to me. I don't want to remember. Forget all this, I'm an orphan. I grew up a slave. That I remember well. So many things burned into my memory. Most of all I remember her, my Octavia. Today we're always the same age, but back then she was twice as young as me, just a child, but a brave one, cunning, bold, and beautiful, the most beautiful girl in the world. What deity do you worship? Never got much help from the gods so far, but if you make me choose I'd say Callistria. Who else could I worship? The savored sting, the goddess of pleasure, fun and revenge. Oh yeah. Where did you get your magical powers? What magical powers? The hells are you talking about? Oh, you mean these? I've had them since I was born. At least one thing I can thank my scum parents for. Maybe these powers are why they sold me to slavery. Think they were scared? Who knows, damn Numerians. At the Technic League they drew my blood, did experiments, burned me with fire, tortured me with cold, electricity, and they told me, you won't believe it, they told me I have blue dragon blood in my veins. Not bad, huh? I'm a dragon, you freaks. Come check my blood if you dare. What do your tattoos mean? They are magical, they help me control my powers, the Technic League gave them to me. I'd hoped that somewhere on my body there was at least one sign left by my tribe, but no, I guess they didn't care to bother. To hell with them. Better hope I never find them. If I ever meet my father, I will even the score between us. How do you manage to use both the sword and magic and not cut off your fingers? It's simple. Just that bloody good. Do you enjoy making people suffer? Why should I care about their suffering? I do what I want. If I step on someone's toes, then they shouldn't have put themselves in my way. Chasing someone down just to torture them, that's only entertainment for maniacs like the Technic League. Well, on second thought, for them I would make an exception. I love to watch as I fry them, nice and slow. But why do you ask? Do my methods shock you? So long as you're in my party, try to control yourself. I don't like meaningless atrocities. If you say so, you're the boss. We'll make sure all our atrocities are meaningful. Wouldn't want to upset the boss. Thank ya for your answers. Thanks, don't fill a purse. I'm just kidding. Tell me about your life in Numeria. You mean my life as a slave? I didn't see much, except for the slave barracks and the League's twisted laboratories. How did you happen to become a slave? I was sold by my own tribe when I was just a little brat. So I grew up in the slave barracks. I was raised to be sold, like a battle animal. They tried to break me, but they picked the wrong brat. No matter how much you beat this animal, he only gets angrier. Why did your masters teach you magic? Can't you guess? Because magic is in my blood. That's why they bought me. I wasn't raised as some lowly mob slave, but as a murder machine. I'd fetch quite a nice sum of gold. You might also ask if they knew I'd take the first opportunity to rip their own guts out using everything they taught me. Of course they did. But that's a technique leak. They calculate risk. Octavia kept pretending to be simple-minded, so they wouldn't expect anything of her. But I made every effort, though they didn't teach me much. What is there to teach? It's not book magic, it's innate. They made me practice with my sword more, but I did my best in everything. I studied all I could. They knew they were raising an enemy, but they thought they could keep me on a short leash. They'll sell me to someone with deep pockets so I become someone else's problem. But who won in the end, huh? Who is free? Who will bury them all? What else did you see beyond your life in chains? What could I have seen? Well, when we ran, we went through Starfall. It's a fine city, big, loud, many merchants, things to see, things to steal. But I didn't have much chance to walk around. It's the very nest of the Sodding Technic League. We were focused more on getting out alive. We met some barbarians. I asked them who might know what tribe I'm from. They didn't know anything. I don't have any tribal tattoos, nothing. Actually, they're alright. Well, some of them. The Bloodgars, for one, they're great. All the rivers are theirs. We sailed with them during one of our escapes, almost all the way to Brevoy. They didn't turn us in. But the White Scars got us after that. Those guys are shit. They've sold their pride to the Technic League. Oh, one more thing. One time Octavia and I tried to escape, stumbled across a Numerian monster. I'll never forget it. A huge spider, the size of a house, made of metal, spitting fire, shooting deadly rays all around. That thing could probably tear even a dragon to pieces. Ruined our escape plans too. We had to go back. Did you and Octavia try to escape? What do you think? Of course we tried. Stopped counting how many times. Jumped from windows, dug tunnels, choked out guards, seduced them. That happened too. Those dirtbags got us every time. Every bloody time. My back is covered with whip scars. Lucky we were prized property. It spent too much gold on us to kill us. Anyone else would be hung and forgotten. They kept trying to break us and recoup their expenses. I don't know whether I could have survived by sheer stubbornness if it weren't for Octavia. Probably couldn't have. Would have just given up and died. But I had to pull my girl out of that meat grinder. And she believed in me and had enough hope for the both of us. When I lay there with my back slashed to pieces, she whispered to me about the river kingdoms, where there's no slavery, where everyone can go wherever they want, and take whatever they want. I'll be damned. But I thought she was just making this up to keep our hopes alive. And now it turns out to be true. All of it, every last word. No chains, no slaves, no laws. Just live and be happy. Is slavery legal, Numeria? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. There are some laws against it, but even in Starfall, a third of the people live in bondage. And that's the capital. In regions where the Black Sovereign's hand doesn't reach, they hold to tribal customs instead of laws. Barbarians don't keep slaves. Instead, they have thralls. Big bloody difference. And on top of all that mess, there's a technic leak. Law and custom mean nothing to those slime balls. They just take whatever and whoever they want. What kind of relationship do you have with Octavia? Well, my Octavia and I don't have a relationship, we have a life together. How did you meet? Back when we were children, we were taken as apprentices by a great spellmaster, Janusz. Maestro Janusz, he called himself. He was our teacher. Well, he made Octavia read books and memorize spells. And I have my own innate magic. He trained me a bit, taught how to control my gifts, so I wouldn't lose control and incinerate myself like a dumbass. Oh, teacher, we will meet again. There's one more test I must pass. But you're asking about my Octavia. We've been together all our lives. We've learned everything together, how to weave magic and how to survive. As we grew older, we learned how to love. Without each other, we would never have gotten out of there, that's for sure. We would have given up and surrendered to death, but together, that's a very different story. Not the first time, not the 10th, but eventually we made it out. Are you and Octavia faithful to each other? What a question. Octavia and I are connected, and this connection cannot be broken. We grew into each other, you know. Jealousy is for weak cowards who don't trust each other and are scared of being tricked. If a knight on the side threatens your love, that just means there was no real love to begin with. She and I are together to the end, and we will never part from each other. So when she likes some lad or some lass, it's no drama to me. I just ask her whether she wants me to leave them alone or join in. And she does the same. Huh. What? Are you judging us? Or maybe you just want to join us in our tent, Okay. I'm not here to judge. Just curious. You asked, I answered. When you pry into others' lives, don't be surprised if you find something that will keep you up at night. Why do you call her yours? She doesn't seem to like that very much. My girl loves freedom so much, and even a slight chance of losing it frightens her. She is so smart. I really think she feels like I'm trying to make her mine, like an apple stolen at a market. Me, who was skinned alive for trying to help her escape. She's afraid of the word my is because she doesn't understand the difference between my boots and my heart. But she will understand sooner or later. What did you say when you were killing Kalana? What? Oh, that. Callistria's holy words, I stabbed thee with my heart. We say that when we get our vengeance. Those words make it so much sweeter. I have to go. So long, and if you want to know anything else, just ask, don't be shy. Just don't go pale when I answer. Oh, hello. Something you need? Could you tell me about your childhood, please? Too little. Some scraps of memories, no more than that. What exactly do you remember? Nothing special. Some images of a faraway past, that's all. I do remember wooden table legs. The paint on them was peeling off, and I was standing on my toes, trying to peek at what was on the table. I remember the wild rose by the window, kept me up at night, scratching the glass with its gnarled branchlets. I do remember my mother's blue dress. It was a trifle. It was a trifle battered, but it smelled of lavender. Guess that's all. Not much there, right? All those memories. It's like they're not mine at all. I recall some images, and I know I should feel something about them, but I don't remember what exactly I should feel. So let them rot in a swamp with tatzelworms. My life's good enough without them. What do you know about your parents? You're a half-elf, right? Am I? You know, I think you might be right. I'm rather slim and tall and can see well in dim light. Huh. A little bit pointy, yes, I'm definitely a half-elf. Let's think about that logically. So my mother was an elf and my father was a human. Or maybe it was the other way around and my mother was a... Do you remember how you were enslaved? I clearly remember the man who took me away from my home. He was big, with a huge potbelly and a shaggy beard. I was afraid he would eat me. Anyway, he didn't stay long with me. He gave me to his slave accomplices and never saw him again. When my mother was giving me to him, she was crying. I can still barely hear her quiet voice, but I can't recall her words or her face behind the tears. Just that lavender smell. It tickled my nose and I wanted to sneeze. Did my mother sell me into slavery? But then why was she crying? If she didn't want me to be a slave, why didn't she try to save me? One more riddle from my past that I don't care to solve. Must be horrible, being unable to recall your childhood. Oh, I recall my childhood in rather bright details. It was spent in dirty barracks. I wore flea-infested rags, slept on straw mattresses instead of a proper bed. Do I understand what you mean? You know, to be honest, not sure I want to remember my childhood before slavery. If I could remember what I lost, it would probably just bring me more pain. So it's good that I don't remember much of anything. Will you tell me about your life in slavery? I don't like to recall, but if you insist. The slavers from the Technic League tried to ruin my life. But all they could do was ruin my childhood. How did you happen to find yourself in the Stolen Lands? My enslavers from the Technic League funded a large expedition in the Stolen Lands. 100 agents, tens of slaves, wagons. We were to search for some ancient artifact or ancient ruins. Our group never made it to the Technic League hideout. Along the way, it was attacked by the future owner of the Stolen Lands himself. And I'll be forever grateful to him for it. Did you have many masters over the years? Yes, many of them. Some owed me for years, others felt they'd had enough of me in a couple of months. Trust me, did all I could to make every master eager to get rid of me. A slave that's trained in magic is a rather expensive thing, so they wouldn't kill me. At least that was my hope. So I drooled, played an idiot, and listened, and as every new master argued with my former one, trying to return me. Sometimes I punctured the pages of magic books I was forced to copy with a quill. Other times I pretended to mix up the spells, so instead of lighting a magic torch, I sent dozens of dancing lights floating just below the ceiling. Of course, most of these tricks of mine usually ended badly. I got punished on a regular basis. My back still remembers the master's whips, though all my scars from those times are long gone. Where did you learn to use magic? Oh, I was taught magic by Janusz of Starfall, one of the most famous wizards in Numeria. Maestro Janusz, as he insisted on calling himself. Anyone would be happy to learn from such a great master, and only a talented bitch like me would dare to reject his teaching and indulge in her laziness. At least that's what Maestro Janusz used to repeat constantly, while whipping knowledge into my back. The great Maestro was a big fan of punishment. He technically didn't care if a few slaves died under the master's whip, as long as Maestro Janusz provided an arcane-trained one in return. Officially there is no slavery in Numeria, but the Technic League is above any law. A slave with an aptitude for the arcane is worth much more than a regular one. The slave's repertoire is limited to the simplest and safest spells, of course. You ever tried to run away? What a silly question, of course I tried. As soon as we saw even the tiniest opportunities to get free, Reg and I grabbed for it. On one occasion we jumped from the cart into the river. There was a time when we spent weeks trying to dismantle the far wall of the barracks and make it pad out. Sometimes we attacked our guards when they least expected it. We craved freedom. We lived only to dream about it. Those short days, sometimes weeks, that we spent on the run were the happiest days of my life. We used to hide in the woods or blend in with the crowd on the streets of Starfall. Midnight stars were our guiding lights, and we shared our dreams with them. To reach the river kingdoms, for in these lands there were neither slaves nor masters. We were starving and freezing, but that was the real life. Too bad it usually ended too soon. The Technic League agents always found us in the end. I don't know how they managed to do it. They probably used magic. Or maybe it was just our fate. They whipped us and returned us to our old masters. Or sold us to new ones. The old ones refused to pay. So we were slaves again. But the dream about the river kingdoms never left our hearts. Have your masters ever hurt you? You figured that out, didn't you? Maybe you want to hear all about the beatings I survived, the humiliations I've endured. Imagine the worst thing one person can do to another, and multiply it tenfold. That's what happened to me nearly every day in slavery. Masters. Oh, how I hate that word. They punished me because they wanted to hurt me. But what hurt even more was the mere fact of their existence. Wait, I want to tell you. The Technic League agents you rescued us from? Reg and I tried to run away many times, but they always managed to find us eventually. I have no reason to hope that this time they've lost track of us for good. I won't let anyone harm those who are dear to me. Whatever happens, you can count on me. Thank you. Shit, I'd still like to find them first. What kind of relationship do you have with the Regongar? We work together. The way you said we're together sounds unconvincing. Something wrong? You've noticed? Well, I didn't mean that. Now I'll have to explain. Not sure how I put it correctly, you see, Reg seems to treat me like his property. He's always kind to me and it feels good when we travel together, when we share a blanket at the campsite. But he always calls me my Octavia. I've told him over and over that I don't belong to anyone, that I'm my own, and that I stay with him by my own free will. He only grins when I say that. Bet he likes to think that I'm his. Never mind though, we'll sort it out somehow. When did you meet Reg? Years ago when I was studying magic at Maestro Janusz's. Reg was a student too, though you couldn't actually say he was really studying anything. Reg had his own ways to cast spells. He never needed the Maestro's instructions. You see, unlike wizards, Reg draws power directly from his innate bloodline abilities. Janusz didn't realize the nature of Reg's power when he took the young boy as his new student. When he finally understood them, he just taught the negligent half-orc to control his powers, to avoid harming himself or the others. Reg and I have been together ever since. We could both use magic, but more importantly, we both craved freedom. We used to vow to each other that someday we'd break free from the unbearable captivity or die trying. Together. Guess it's good that we fulfilled only the first part of that vow. You owe him much? I don't like this owe word. I don't owe anything to anybody. Everything I do of my own free will. But to answer your question, yes. Reg has done a lot for me. I can't count how many times he was whipped by masters because of me. How many times he took the blame for my doings. He never complained when they dragged him, beaten and covered in blood, to the slave barracks. He just groaned, clenched his fists while I bandaged his wounds with the scraps of my filthy clothing. We've always been together, my whole life, as slaves and as free people. I wouldn't be me if not for him. The fact that Reg is so impulsive, doesn't that bother ya? Haha, that. It's a very delicate matter. Reg means a lot to me, and he endured a lot for me. But some parts of him just scare me. He becomes extremely bloodthirsty when it comes to slavers. Don't get me wrong, I hate slavers with all my heart. And I'll do a lot to cleanse the world of their filth. But Reg, he'd do anything, understand? Absolutely anything. I'm afraid that anger might kill everything good in him. I've attempted to talk to him about it many times, but he just won't listen. He becomes even angrier about it after our conversations. You worship Calistria, right? Yes, many slaves survived only thanks to their fate. Some lived hoping for a day when a good deity would deliver them. Some even offered deals to the evil gods. But me and Reg, Calistria has taught us the most important things. Expect no gifts from above. Rely only on ourselves. Never forgive those who wronged us. But at the same time, savor every droplet of pleasure we could squeeze from our bleak days. It's amazing how after all your hardships, you still remain so cheerful and optimistic. I try not to view my life as a never-ending course of sufferings. Yes, I've had my share of hard times, but do I need to recall them? After all, along with the bad things, I've had some good things as well. Had a dream and I followed it, and eventually it came true. Following that path, I met Reg and you. Now I'm free, surrounded by friends. Why do you need to find the Technic League agents? I broke free from slavery. Thanks to you, I've obtained everything I dreamed of. My freedom, the opportunity to control my own life. I want to use this opportunity to fight the Technic League. At least the part of it that operates here in the Stolen Lands. I wish to free all the slaves from the Technic League masters. I just have to ask, how do you manage to look so gorgeous, even when we're out in the middle of nowhere? Oh, so you've noticed. My appearance is the result of daily effort. It's not easy. You know how much time it takes to create good makeup, to mend a dress, even with the help of magic. So if someday you wake up early, an hour before dawn or so, you can actually check on me. You'll see how I prepare myself for a new day. So much effort, though that's your business. Right, it's my business. It's good that you understand that. You know, It feels so good to be a beauty in a group of barely washed and extremely reckless young gentlemen. You're my thorns, I'm your rose. Alright. Okay, so let's go downstairs. And we have Harrim left that we can have a conversation with, and then we're off to the Stag Lord's fortress. What? Oh, it's you, Grenn Blackforge. Did it all startle you? I'm sorry. Oh no, that doesn't matter. I was just contemplating the futility of existence, the worthlessness of the universe. The ways of Grotus are great, my humble mortal mind cannot fully grasp them, but I do what I can. Tell me about your past. My life is divided into two parts. The first was filled with blind wandering, doubts, and attempts to serve Torag. The second part began when I accepted Grotus into my soul and received a clear vision of the world. What exactly would you like to know? Where are you from? My life story began in Larat, a city of dwarven clerics and acolytes. They served Torag and the other dwarven gods. Torag's brothers, Angrad and Magrim. Torag's wife, Fulgrit, his daughter Bolka, his sons Grundenar, Coles and Trud, and also Torag's sister Drengvit. I wouldn't be surprised if they build a temple to Torag's pet dog. You blasphemer. Oh, sorry, I let myself get away there. Larad is the second largest dwarven city in the Five King Mountains. It's built around numerous temple caverns, which serve as places of worship for all the dwarven gods. Many pilgrims from every corner of Golarion came to Larad to pray to their gods. Some remain to live there. The city is simply imbued with fate. Can't swing a dead cat without hitting a cleric. It's no surprise, inspired by the aura of this city, that I decided as a young boy to dedicate all my efforts to becoming a cleric of Torag. You once tried to serve Torag? Not just tried. It was a burning passion. I craved it by day and dreamt on it at night. You see, Grenn Blackforge, from my first days I felt the presence of the god at my back. I heard his whispers and felt his power, though the nature of this power was unclear to me. I thought Torag himself was trying to speak to me, and I did all I could to understand his words. Oh, what a naive fool I was. I had no idea that Torag, the uncompromising, conceited god glamorized by all dwarves, was capable of betrayal. He turned away from me, Grenn Blackforge. He left me in the hour when I put all my hopes in him and desperately needed his support. Torag is the god of craftsmanship, so every follower, especially the clerics, must smith their own suit of armor. The day when this work is finished is like the second birthday for a dwarf. He's newly born in the eyes of Torag. My second birthday never came. I couldn't make armor, not even a sword, not even a simple nail. My hammer smashed my fingers and fell on my feet. Molten iron burned my hands. The clerics laughed as they healed me. They used to say I was cursed by Torag, so finally I gave up any attempt to please the betrayer god. Even if Torag really has rejected you, is that enough reason to leave your homeland? You don't know much about dwarves. Excuse me? What are you saying, Harrim? I'm a dwarf. How can a dwarf cursed by Torag go on living in a city where every single soul bows to Torag? I was alone, disgraced, humiliated, insulted. I was trying to drown my sorrows in drink, but even the owner of the cheapest pub on the road would laugh at me while he put those mugs in front of me. Couldn't take it any longer. I wanted everything to end. But there was one thing that kept me going and prevented me from ending my life. I could still hear the divine whisper behind my back. It was yet faint. It took a long time before I could hear it clearly. But having heard it once, I could never forget it. It was clear that none of Larad's deities favored me. So I left the Five King Mountains and went out searching. I didn't think dwarves ever worshipped Grotus. How did you learn about him? Oh, that blessed day became the beginnings of a new life. Alone and abandoned by all, I spent many dull hours in a filthy tavern by the roadside. I don't recall the town, nor even the country. I had no money. In fact, all I had was a hunk of stale bread. I was weary, almost fainting from hunger. That was the moment when the whisper from my god became more clear. It was like he was calling me. At last my sufferings had come to an end. It was a miracle, Grenn Blackforge, and I had paid full price for it with my torments. Couldn't control myself. Walked out of the tavern, straight into the nearest forest. There I found the ruined temple of Arodin, the lost god. Several figures clad in robes were holding a silent service there. A service to a god I knew nothing of. None minded when I stood beside them. For the first time in my life, I felt myself at home. My new brothers told me that they were clerics of Grotus, the god of end times. They were traveling around Golarion, spreading the teachings of Grotus. Despite all the persecution, contempt and misjudgment they received from others, I gladly shared his burden with him, for now I knew whose voice had whispered to me through all those years. Grotus is the god of the end times, a sentient and cruel moonlet that looks down upon the boneyard and waits for the last living soul to die. When Pharasma judges the last soul of the last living body dies on the material plane, Grotus will descend to the boneyard and move on to the material plane to clean up and pack the dust away for another reality. No one really knows what Grotus is going to do once the last soul is judged, but it's generally accepted that will not be pleasant. Wait, so you couldn't make even a simple nail and you blame Torag? Are you suggesting that my problem was not a curse, just my own inability to work with metal? Maybe you're saying that I was too lazy? You're a fool if you think so, an ignorant fool. Have you ever met a dwarf who can't handle a smith's hammer? Even her children craft knives. No, Torag is the cause of my sufferings. The betrayer god definitely cursed me, just to make a laughingstock of me. But I won't let myself get angry at you, Grenn Blackforge. You're an ignorant and blind soul. My aim is to guide you through this dying world that marches towards its end. I will open your eyes or die trying. Grotus will be pleased by either outcome. I like to learn more about dwarfs. Why are you asking? You're a dwarf yourself, just as I am. Perhaps you want to learn my thoughts on our history. Tell me about the Five Kings Mountains. The Dwarven Kingdom, yes. Well, it's to the south from here. It's survived many trials, and there will many more yet to come. There is no unity among the dwarves, Grenn Blackforge. The 5 kings rule over our people. They sit on the throne of the 5 greatest cities. With every passing day it grows harder for them to come to any agreement. The only thing uniting the 5 Kings Mountains is the sky citadel of High Helm, the great dwarven fortress at the mountain's heart. The dwarfs always lived on the surface. Oh no, aeons ago all dwarfs lived deep beneath the surface. And they did rather well, judging by the historic records. They built fortresses befitting noble dwarves. But our restless god Torek sent us on a prophecy, the quest for the sky. He ordered all the dwarves to abandon their fortresses and press upwards, to show their beards to the sun, as they say. This journey was long and bloody. Many dwarves perished on the way. Others turned back, keeping to their ancient strongholds, eventually to turn into evil Dwergar, grey dwarves. But those who survived reached the surface and founded the Sky Citadels, the most glorious cities in dwarven history. Tell me about the Sky Citadels. Oh, they are the peaks of creation. Glorious cities built by the ancient dwarves, who finally reached the surface after many hardships, performing the final labor in their quest for the sky on the surface of Golarion. They are steadfast, tall, magnificent. They are beautiful. The 10 citadels were built by dwarves, but we've managed to keep only a few. The citadels crumbled and the orcs, sworn enemies of our people, trampled their blessed streets and ruined the gorgeous palaces of ancient kings. There were heavy losses and a disgrace to our people, Grenn Blackforge. High Helm is the jewel of the citadels that remain. It is located in the heart of the mountains, and the heart of every dwarf. Yes, my heart too. There is a dwarven saying that if an enemy reaches High Helm, every dwarf from all the corners of the world will come to defend it. I'd be there too, and not to help the Citadel's defenders. I'd be there to witness the fall of our people with my own eyes, and mourn it. I would fall upon the cold stone and raise my final prayers to Grotus. I like to talk about your god, Grotus. You wish to learn about Grotus? Yes, of course, I will answer anything you ask. What are Grotus' teaching about, in a nutshell? Grotus is the end of all that exists. Look around, Grenn Blackforge, what do you see? Look again, realize that everything will be destroyed. Our clothing and our armor will turn to dust. The walls of the palaces will crumble into ruins. The trees will fall, and you and I will die much sooner than that. Grotus is a timeless watcher. He's been locked away by Pharasma, the goddess of rebirth. From her boneyard he has watched over the world, knowing the time for the final reaping has come. He's the bloated moon hanging in the sky. He's the harbinger of the last days. He's the one who will stay when all the others are gone. Pharasma has Grotus locked in her boneyard, so she is stronger than Grotus. Of course she is stronger. For now. Grotus is weaker than Pharasma, many other gods, and I would be the fool if I tried to claim otherwise. If Grotus were stronger, the end times would already have come, wouldn't they? But the powers of other gods fade away. They dissolve slowly, a grain in a century. Grotus collects those grains and waits. He doesn't need to hurry. He knows that his time shall come. Usually clerics can speak with their gods. What does Grotus say to you? What is his will? Grotus doesn't speak to his clerics. Actually, Grotus doesn't need any clerics. He only allows his whispers to be heard, and only by those who are dying to hear them. His words are unclear, but they call to you. His voice comes with the soft rustle of fallen leaves, with the woeful wailing winds at the mountain pass, with the roar of the raging blizzard, and it calls you to strike out on the road. Onwards, always onwards, over the pass, over the bridge, and further along. Up ahead, where the edge of grey robe flashed and the candle sputtered for the last time before dying. Onwards, always onwards, until your feet can no longer carry you. Thanks for telling me about Grotus. Then let me ask you, what do you think about Grotus? It was interesting to learn about him. No more, no less. I'll be glad to talk with you about Grotus anytime, Grenn Blackforge. After all, that's why I travel in your company. Have you ever regretted your decision to abandon Torek, start worshipping Grotus instead? Your question might seem offensive, Grenn Blackforge, but I'm not offended. I realize you ask it because you wish to learn more about Grotus. Torek betrayed me, Grenn Blackforge. All he's ever done was look down with contempt on all my futile efforts to please him. I crafted armor plates, but they fell apart with a single strike of a fist. I smithed swords, but they broke at the hilt. Torek's priest used to say that such failures were the curse of their uncompromising deity. It was Grotus who opened my eyes. He showed me that failure is a manifestation of his will. The end time is near, Grenn Blackforge, and every failure is just another step towards it. Torek's curse is only half the reason for my failure. The other half is the blessing of Grotus, which I have borne from early childhood. So the short answer to your question is no. I never regretted opening my soul to Grotus. From what I've heard, Grotus doesn't spare the minds of his clerics. They all go insane eventually. Is that true? Huh. Who told you that? I'd like to look that slanderer in the eye. You see, Grenn Blackforge, sanity is quite a relative concept. Each of us is certain that he's the sanest creature in the world. Meanwhile, we periodically doubt the sanity of others. So what happens if 2 or 3 people claim that someone else is insane? Does that make it true? Perhaps the accusers have lost their minds themselves. The longer a cleric listens to the whispers of Grotus, the better he comprehends the essence of his designs, and the deeper his understanding becomes. When enlightenment comes, the mind of a cleric ascends to a new level of understanding, which is inaccessible to simpler souls. Is it insanity? That is for you to decide, Grenn Blackforge. My decision was made long ago. When I reach enlightenment, I'll accept it with joy and delight. Well, when you learn Grotus' divine plans, remember to tell me about them. Could use a good laugh. Oh, of course I will tell you. I will tell everyone. The word of Grotus will lead us forward into the inevitable.